contribute in Europe to maintain that support. We have also been discussing European security architecture as Sweden and Finland will be joining NATO, so we can deepen the partnership in the Nordic family as we have discussed earlier today, but Germany will be key among our allies to deepen that cooperation here in the north of Europe. We will increase our defense collaboration in the wider Nordic-Baltic region. And then on energy, we have this common approach to energy that electricity is key and almost everything that can be electrified will be electrified, which means that in the future we will need more renewable energy, and it is the renewable energy that we will need. Your government, Chancellor, made important decisions from that even before the war broke out in Ukraine. And in a way, we are in this together, because we have to provide a lot more renewable energy into the wider European context. And there is no European country that will be an island in this. We will be connected, and we have to find grid solutions that can give energy security at affordable prices to all. The future towards that goal is going to be tough. It is going to be turbulent, but we are committed to making that transition, safeguarding European and German energy security and Nordic energy security. And that is, of course, part of our transition to a green, renewable, climate-friendly future in 2030 and towards 2050. And key decisions on that will be taken right now and in the years to come. We have huge opportunities from offshore wind, from solar, from the Norwegian part, using our hydroelectric resources more effectively, and all of us being more focused on energy efficiency in the solutions we take. So this is a very good forum for that discussion. So, Chancellor, I welcome you to Oslo and to the Nordic Forum, and I give you the floor.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here in Oslo today. Many thanks, dear Jonas, to you and at the Nordic colleagues for the warm and friendly welcome and for our talks. This regular exchange among the Nordic countries certainly serves as a role model for close dialogue and coordination. Today's meeting has once again shown that we are far more than just neighbors in Europe. We are united by common values and position, notably at firm commitment to democracy, the rule of law, human rights, and the rules-based international order. And we face the same challenges, the consequences of the global climate crisis, as well as the current threat to the rules-based international order. Russia's war against Ukraine is a particularly blatant example for the violation of this order. With our partners Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden, we stand united against such atrocities. We support the freedom, security, territorial integrity, and sovereignty of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. That is why we will continue our comprehensive and long-term support for Ukraine with political, military, financial, and humanitarian means and assistance, and also in the reconstruction of Ukraine. Today's meeting has confirmed our resolve to continue these efforts. We stand also together to mitigate the global effects of the war unleashed by Putin against Ukraine, such as worsened food and energy security. The close cooperation between our allies and Nordic friends and Germany will deepen even further in the time to come. Germany is particularly pleased to be able to welcome in the near future the two more Nordic partners, Finland and Sweden, to NATO. This will contribute to the security of Northern Europe, of Germany, and of the transatlantic alliance. We will continue our close cooperation for the benefit of peace and security in our own countries and beyond. And let me continue with all the debates we had on energy security. Yes, it is necessary that we now stay together and work very hard, intensely, to make it possible to organize the supply with all the energies we need, with coal, oil, and gas, and things that are necessary for continuing our industrial production. But we are also working for the future, and this is renewable energies and the things that are related to this. And this is why we want to expand the production of energy, of electricity, with offshore wind, with onshore wind, with solar, why we want to invest in our grid, which gives us the opportunity to cooperate better and to join our forces also in the electricity and energy production. And we all know that the gas of the future will be hydrogen, so that this will be an important part of the industry to come. We all together work very hard to have a CO2 neutral industry. We want to continue to be global successful economies. And this will be feasible if we work together in all the necessary decisions for increasing the production of renewables and energy in this way. And this is also a support for our sovereignty. Now we work to make us more independent on the supply of fossil resources from Russia. But for the longer future, we work to make us independent of the need for fossil resources. And this is where we are joining our forces.
Thank you, Chancellor. Mette, please.
Thank you, Chancellor, for joining us in Oslo today. I think our talks today have confirmed that the Nordic region and Germany are not only neighbors. We are close partners and we share the same values. We also share the same challenges, and our populations share the same challenges, not least on energy and security in the face of Putin's cruel war. And therefore, we strongly value the rest of us on the stage, the important decisions your government has taken to invest in our common European security. And we are, of course, also ready to work even closer together. I guess that we are facing a challenging fall, unfortunately. The war in Ukraine has lasted now more than 6 months. The Ukrainians have paid a terrible price, and the consequences are now felt in all our countries as well. The pressures on Europe's gas supply is only one example, but we feel it, all of us. The fight is far from over, and I think it is crucial that we maintain our strong resolve and unity. And therefore, Jonas, I think it has been really a good idea to bring Germany to the Nordic discussions today, because the European unity can only be as strong as we want it to be. So once again, thank you, both of you, for our discussions today.
Thank you, Mette. Sanna, please.
Thank you, Jonas, and dear Olaf. It is very good that you're here today with us, and we had a very good meeting earlier. Today we discussed about our common security. Russia has changed our environment with its brutal war against Ukraine. We all agree on the need to step up our support for Ukraine. As we enter the cold winter, our populations need to understand what is at stake. I trust they will. Russia can only lose this war it has started. We should not imagine a world where war, open disregard of human rights, and a mindset of imperialism pays off. Germany and the Nordic countries share the same security environment. I hope that Finland and Sweden will soon be members in NATO, and I wish to thank you also for the strong support during our accession process. Our membership in NATO will make us all stronger. Germany and the Nordic countries share the same security environment within the Baltic Sea area and the wider Northern Europe. There's a lot of room for more cooperation among us Nordics and Germany. However, the importance of the membership of Finland and Sweden will be far greater. It will benefit the whole NATO, the common defence and deterrence. The security of every ally will matter for us. Finally, we had an important discussion on the green transition and energy. This was very timely. We must support each other when it comes to countering Russia's actions and blackmail with energy. A new kind of solidarity is needed in Europe. We all can find each other in a situation where we need each other. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Jonas, for hosting today's meeting.
So we do a little Magdalena and then Katrín. Magdalena, please.
Oh, thank you, and thank you again for organizing this meeting, and thank you, Olaf, for joining us. Very interesting discussions, but in these companies, I can't help noting that Northern Europe today is social democratic and progressive. This is a unique gathering of democratic and social democratic and progressive leaders, and maybe one might ask why that is the case. To me, it seems like people are looking for solutions to the problems of today and tomorrow, and actually we are the ones that do have answers. That people see that we need more common solutions to common problems, and that's only possible with stronger societies, and that people are turning back to politics and see politics as the solution to their problems. And maybe people also see that social democracy takes responsibility for all of society, that includes our security, and Sweden's and Finland's applications for NATO memberships are good examples of this. And once again, I would like to express my deep gratitude to our Nordic neighbors as well as Germany for the strong support for our NATO applications. And as I noted earlier today, we're lucky to have such good neighbors.
Thank you. So let's move to the Atlantic, Katrín.
Yes, thank you. The left Greens really enjoy the Social Democratic Company here, and this has been actually a very fruitful meeting. Iceland, as well as the rest of the Nordic countries, enjoy an excellent bilateral relation with Germany. But I also welcome very much this regular dialogue between Germany and the Nordic countries as a whole. We had such a meeting in Iceland 2019, and I think it's very important because the challenges we're dealing with are enormous. We spoke about the energy transition. Iceland is not part of the European electricity grid, as you know, but we have a lot of knowledge and experience to share when it comes to hydropower, geothermal power, but also, as I mentioned in an earlier press conference here today, carbon capture, utilization and storage, which has to be part of the solution. We must reduce emissions, and we must do that partly by the energy transition, but we also must find ways to store carbon. And I think there we have a lot to share and to work with both the Nordic countries and Germany. When it comes to the European security situation, I don't need to repeat what my colleagues have said. These are very testing times for our countries, and it is of vital importance to have a dialogue like today, where we actually feel the importance of our democratic values, all of us who are standing here today, and how important they are in the world today, where they are under pressure.
We have time for a couple of questions, and we start with Danish TV2, and ask you to use the microphone. Yeah, just behind you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a question for the German Chancellor. In the light of the urgent need to cut the gas supply from Putin, how comfortable are you then with the green transition that you see in the Nordic countries? We heard some very proud prime ministers earlier today, but how comfortable are you actually?
Thank you for your question. You should know that Germany already took the decision that we will become a CO2 neutral country in 2045. And this means that we have to increase the production of electricity from renewables immensely. And we are doing it. So just to give you a figure on that, today we are producing 600 terawatt hours of electricity. We will increase that to 800 in the end of this decade, and it will be the double the figure 10 years later. And this is all because industrial models change. Ways of producing steel, doing chemistry, producing cement, doing all the other industrial activities will depend on the use of electricity from renewables and of hydrogen. And if I understand this exactly, this is the model the Nordic countries are following in one or the other way, and so we are working together. We also know, as Jonas said, that it is necessary to have a grid that is cooperating, so this gives us a better strength together. And when we are now facing our problems we have today, it is good to know that we already took the decisions to become independent of the imports of fossil resources from Russia, but in the end from other places of the world as well, and that we know exactly what is now the right way for this industrial revolution to come.
Next question is for the Süddeutsche Zeitung.
Daniel Brössler, Süddeutsche Zeitung. I have a question for the Chancellor and the Prime Ministers. There's a debate right now in Europe to deny visa to Russian tourists, which the Chancellor has said he is skeptical about. I would like to ask all of you if you find it acceptable that Russian tourists are enjoying themselves in Europe while the killing goes on in Ukraine. And since there are different opinions on this, how a compromise could look like. And my apologies, question in German to the Chancellor. Herr Bundeskanzler, wie beurteilen Sie die Höhe der Gasumlage und lässt sich so Ihr Entlastungsversprechen für den Herbst noch halten? Vielen Dank.
Would you like to start?
If you,
please. Germany,
yeah. First, there is a question about a special levy we organized to face the situation that not all companies that have contracts with Gazprom importing gas get the gas they already ordered, and so they have to manage that situation. And this has an impact on prices for gas for all those who are having gas demands in Germany. Die Antwort ist, ich bin sehr froh, dass die Umlage nicht so hoch ausgefallen ist, wie sie in manchen Spekulationen der letzten Tage erwartet wurde. Aber es ist so, dass damit eine Herausforderung, eine Belastung für die Bürgerinnen und Bürger verbunden ist. Und deshalb ist es richtig, dass wir nicht bei den beiden Entlastungspaketen von 30 Milliarden Euro stehen bleiben, die wir bereits auf den Weg gebracht haben, sondern dass wir ein weiteres Entlastungspaket als Regierung intensiv vorbereiten und auch umsetzen werden. You'll never walk alone, das ist das, was ich dazu gesagt habe. Und das gilt auch für das, was wir als Regierung als gemeinsame Entscheidung treffen werden. Ganz klar ist, dies ist eine Belastung. Aber wenn wir genau hinschauen, dann sind die Herausforderungen für die Bürgerinnen und Bürger angesichts der gestiegenen Energiepreise, angesichts anderer Preise, die auch steigen und der Inflation viel größer und beschränken sich nicht auf dieses eine Teil. Wir werden also ein Entlastungspaket schnüren, das nicht nur die Kosten der Umlage adressiert, sondern darüber hinausgeht. Das steht den Bürgerinnen und Bürgern zu, dass wir sie nicht alleine lassen. Wir wissen, wie eng die Rücklagen sind, dass manche Bürgerinnen und Bürger gar keine haben, dass viele das Geld, das sie im Monat verdienen, auch wieder ausgeben. Und selbst diejenigen, die ein bisschen mehr haben, haben es deshalb noch lange nicht dicke. Und deshalb ist es wichtig, dass wir eine solche zusätzliche Entlastung über die beiden großen Pakete von 30 Milliarden hinaus, die wir bereits gemacht haben, auf den Weg bringen. And to the question you ask us about Russian tourists coming to Europe, it was an important decision of all of us that we imposed sanctions on those who are responsible for the war and a lot of oligarchs and those who are financially and economically profiting from this Putin regime. And we will continue to do so. But I think this is not the war of the Russian people, it is Putin's war, and we have to be very clear on that topic.
Mette?
Yeah, I agree with what Olaf said, but at the same time, I think it is understandable why some Europeans, and maybe especially some Ukrainians, find it a bit strange that Russia has attacked a European country. There's a war in Europe, and at the same time, we are receiving tourists from the same country that has attacked another country. So I think it is an important discussion. We are through this 6 months, we have had several sanction packages, and they are now working. And of course, we should always be open to have a discussion whether or not we can do something more that could be on Russians traveling to Europe. But of course, we have to be able to have this discussion amongst us, and I think one of the things we have been able to manage through this war is our unity. So I think we should have the discussion, but I understand why some people think it's a bit strange being there when there's a war in Europe. And now I have to leave, not because of the question or because of my colleagues.
Safe journey. Sanna.
Thank you for the question. Ordinary Russian people didn't start the war, but at the same time we have to realize that they are supporting the war. I think it's not right that Russian citizens can travel, enter Europe, Schengen area, be tourists, see the sightseeings while Russia is killing people in Ukraine. It's wrong. And we need to discuss it in European Council. We need to discuss it in the Schengen area, what to do with the issue. Of course, it's not black and white issue. There is also different colors of grey in there. There are also many people in Russia that are against the war, that are actually under threat within Russia. So, of course, there are different colors also the situation. But I think, in general, I understand very good about the frustration that people have now in Europe about Russians traveling like nothing has happened. They are killing people in Ukraine. So I think this is a discussion that we need to have in European Council.
Speaking for Norway, we have supported the European packages, the sanctions being adopted. There have been severe restrictions on Russians traveling because of air measures, basically no flights, so that has limited Russians' opportunity to travel. I agree that this is a discussion, but one could also look at it this way: it is not black and white. They get a black and white picture in Russia because of the propaganda. So Russians being in other parts of the world, seeing this conflict from the other side, getting other information is also a perspective that needs to be taken into account. But this discussion is ongoing, and Norway will take part in it and support common measures.
Next out is Yle.
Pirja Auvinen, Finnish broadcasting company Yle. I have a follow-up to this visa question because I think this discussion is very intensive, especially in Finland and neighboring countries of Russia. Mr. Scholz, you said that you don't see any new restrictions of tourist visas, so I understood. But how do you see if the member countries like Finland or Baltic countries, if they make the national restrictions, does it weaken European Union, EU front?
First, there is European unity. And as my colleagues already mentioned, we took a lot of very severe decisions together, and this is part of our success. And the sanctions we already imposed, not just on oligarchs and persons responsible for the war, but also on the Russian economy, are very effective, and we will continue to work in this line. I think it is also necessary that we discuss, as my colleagues already said, and this is, in a democratic world, something that is necessary. I think there is room for maneuver in different countries, yes, if this is the question, as it is always the case. And it's also as acceptable that we start a debate on the European level on what to do. What is important for us is that we also understand that there are a lot of people fleeing from Russia because they are disagreeing with the Russian regime. And they've fled to many countries in Europe. They fled to many countries all around Russia. And all the decisions we take should not make it more complicated for them to go for freedom and to leave the country for getting away from the leadership and the dictatorship in Russia.
TT from Sweden.
I'm Lars Larsson from the Swedish news agency TT, and I also have a question on the visa thing. Does Sweden support the Finnish view on this or the German view?
I think this discussion that we had just here, or the different views, mirrors the fact that this is a difficult issue. It is, as many have said, not black and white. So we are still listening to the different arguments. I think there are strong arguments in both directions, and we want to continue this discussion with our friends within the European Union. I think the best way to move forward would be to do it collectively within the European Union.
So Sweden has not made up its mind yet?
No, we're still weighing the different arguments against each other. And I think there are strong arguments on both sides, to be honest.
Thank you.
Last question for today is to NTB.
Thank you. Kenneth Haug, Norwegian news agency NTB. My question is primarily addressed to the German Bundeskanzler. In an interview with the newspaper Aftenposten published yesterday, Prime Minister Støre stated, quote, "Each country is responsible for making sure their own electricity system holds up." This in regard to Norway announcing the possibility of stopping electricity exports to Europe this winter if the situation becomes too difficult domestically. With the coming winter in mind, is this the kind of rhetoric you want to be hearing from your partner countries?
If I get it right, you are putting the thing in the wrong direction and misunderstanding exactly. And I hope it is not.
Should I rephrase the question?
It is possibly that you just read it wrong. But if you understood it correctly, you shouldn't ask such a question. Because what I said is that I very much understand the Norwegian decision-making processes. They have to secure the electricity production with water, and this is a very good job they are doing for whole Europe and for Norway. And there is no misunderstanding on the question if there has to be a decision to be taken that makes it sure that there will be always enough water supply for the electricity production in Norway. So it was possibly completely different to what you said.
Thank you.
Please.
That ends this press conference. Thank you all for coming. I ask the press to sit a little bit so the guests can get out first. Thanks.
He was quoting me. Yeah, he was quoting me.